This is my pool plan for the CDF Final Fantasy Opera Omnia global version of the game, and it will be covering late April 2021, which specifically are the banners featuring Y'shtola's burst weapon and where Y'shtola is the synergy unit. And you can refer to the small infographic on the left to see which events and banners these are. As always, some quick disclaimers before going into the actual pool plan. So first of all, and very importantly, this is really my own individual pool plan, and it's been adjusted based on units that I really like, and of course the needs that I have to fulfill my current roster. By no means this is ideal for everyone else, and I've mentioned this many times in the past, but I'm a firm believer that there's many approaches and ways in playing this game. So there are many ways that you can actually approach planning and pooling for units, and this is merely just one approach. Of course, there's many factors that should be considered when deciding to pool, and this could include your current resources in terms of gems and tickets, who do you currently have in your current roster, and of course, what roles do you feel that you currently lack in your current roster, what content you actually need to clear, and of course, who your favorite units are. So the plan that I'll be sharing has been adjusted based on my own individual factors. And throughout the pool plan video, I'll also be listing who the synergy units are for that event, and this is really just for you to refer in case you need to, or in case you want to plan on which units you want to put together for the Chaos Challenge or the Lufenia fight. So coming to the first event, which is the Heretics Event coming up soon. And as always, there's two featured banners on this event. The first of which will be having Y'shtola, Fujin, and Baltier. And the second banner will have Kuja, Sabine, and Liliset. Y'shtola's burst weapon, newly released, will be across both banners, but her LD weapon will only be on the first banner at the top, whereas the banner at the bottom will feature a rerun of Kuja's LD. So if you haven't picked up Kuja's LD and you're interested in him as a unit, you can consider also pulling on the second banner below. As for myself, I already have Kuja's LD and he's fully max limit broken, so I don't have any need to pull on the second banner below. So my plan on this event is to just throw tickets on the first banner to try and score Y'shtola's LD. And along the way, if I happen to get her burst weapon, it's great. But if not, I'll just move on to the next banner. So really just Y'shtola's LD weapon that I'll be aiming for. In case you don't have Kuja's LD weapon yet and you are considering whether or not to pull for him, my opinion really is that he's actually quite solid as a magic DPS, and he excels in AoE damage, so in fights where there's multiple targets, he does fairly well. The only thing though is that there are already many other options for DPS. So for example, for AoE DPS, Squall really is king, and if you're considering magic DPS, you have units like Ultimacia who also does very well in AoE fights. So by no means Kuja is really needed at this point of the game, and whether you pull for him or not, I think would really be a matter of personal preference. It also doesn't really help that he has Sabine and Liliset as his banner mates, because both of those units are really outdated at this point of the game, and you don't really benefit much from building either Sabine or Liliset up. So I think it's really a detriment in pulling on Kuja's banner here. So the next event after that is going to feature Sarah's LD weapon, as well as Y'shtola's burst weapon. And this banner is really to give you an extra option of another synergy unit that you could be using in the next event, which I'll be showing in the slide after this. And unfortunately though, Sarah is a very lackluster unit, unless for some reason the game developers decide to give us a rework. But she didn't actually get one in the JP side of the game, so I'm not really expecting one here as well. Her LD weapon is maybe or is probably one of the worst LD weapons in the game, and doesn't really do much for her. It grants the same debuff that her EX weapon does, so in a way you can look at it as another way of inflicting her EX debuff. And the rest of her kit, unless she gets a rework, doesn't change, and at this point of the game is really outdated. And importantly, at this point of the game, she doesn't really give you any unique roles or use. So everything that she can do, there's some other unit that can also do the same. I think that the only thing notable about Sarah is that she maybe has the most stacking of brave poison effects in the game. So she has her EX debuff, she has sap, she has poison, which actually all stacks on one another. But really, I don't think there's many fights that require that many poison effects. And beyond that, her kit is really lackluster. So this is really a banner that I will be skipping without feeling any guilt or remorse. And if you are still wondering whether you should pull, I really highly recommend to just skip this banner and move on. Right after this, we have Trey's Lost Chapter coming up. So Y'shtola and Sarah will be synergy units here. But other than Y'shtola's burst weapon, both of these units will not be on Trey's banner. And Trey is actually quite a solid unit. I did skip him the first time around because I was actually trying to save resources back then. With his LD, he's gotten pretty solid, and he really specializes in providing instant breaks, which is becoming more and more relevant nowadays, with bosses having mechanics where they will gain significant brave reduction, shield effects, battery, and sometimes require you to instant break them. So Trey is a good unit if you need someone for that. He's not unique in this role, however. There's characters such as Ramza and Gebrant, and maybe even Strago, who does provide instant break utility. So if you're really hurting for resources and you have those other units built up, there's really no need to pull for Trey. For myself though, I like Trey as a unit. I really couldn't pull for him the first time around because of shortage of resources. This time around, I will be planning to throw tickets to try and score both his EX and LD. And again, if I score Y'shtola's burst weapon on the way, it's really a good bonus that I'll be very happy with. And I do think that he will provide some good utility in at least the next few Lufenia fights. But again, this is really a matter of preference. And whether or not you pull for him, you should really consider whether you need someone with strong instant break capabilities. So next is the Boss Rush 3 event, and it will feature the newly released Waka's LD weapon. And this may come as a surprise to many people because many people aren't actually planning to pull for Waka. For me though, I am actually considering throwing tickets to score Waka's LD weapon, and that's really only for one reason, and that's to see whether or not I could pair Waka's LD call on Vincent's I Brave Cheese strategy. I've looked at Waka's LD. it is very RNG based. So what it does is when you use his LD, it inflicts a frame debuff that changes every time the enemy gets a turn. And there are 3 effects that the frame debuff can change to. And which effect you get is really random, so it's up to RNG. So you could get a paralysis effect, or you could get a brave freeze effect similar to Setzer's freeze joker, or the third effect is a 50% reduction to attack, max brave, eye brave, and I believe defense. And that effect I think has potential in initial brave cheese strategies. And if you've seen many of my battle videos, you'll see that I'm actually a very big fan of cheese strategies. So only for that reason am I thinking of pulling for Waka. And since his banner comes at the end of Y'shtola's arc, I think whether or not I pull for Waka would depend on my resources at that point of the game. So if I still have considerable tickets, I might throw maybe 1 or 200 tickets to see if I get lucky, but I don't really plan on going crazy on this banner. Whether or not you decide to pull, most people, like I said, are thinking of skipping. And the main flaw in Waka's kit is that it's too RNG dependent. And in Lufenia fights where there's already many complicated mechanics in play, having bad RNG can actually potentially end your run. And to me, that's a very big turnoff in using Waka. So if it's not for the potential for cheese, I probably will also skip Waka on this banner. So let's see whether or not I still have tickets coming to this banner. If not, then I'll likely just skip him as well. So that's it for this video. Long story short, my plan is to throw tickets for Y'shtola's LD. I will most definitely skip Sarah. I will plan to throw tickets for Trey's EX and LD weapon, and possibly throw tickets for Waka if I happen to get lucky in both Y'shtola and Trey's event. In terms of MLB priorities, so I always include this section at the end of the video. MLB priorities here would be what I think would be units deserving of your ingots and power stones if you have limited ingots and power stones. And in this arc, I think Y'shtola is a very good pickup. She becomes a very strong support with her rework and LD. And supports generally give you a lot of value and return on investment. So I think it's a good choice to invest in support units such as Y'shtola. Trey is also a very good unit, and I think Trey is a good price after Y'shtola. I would of course recommend to consider whether or not you need Trey's utility or Y'shtola's support more in your roster. And if you really have limited ingots and power stones, maybe pick the unit that you feel you will likely use more in the next few Lufenia fights. But definitely Trey is, I think, an overall solid unit as well. As for Sarah and Waka, I didn't really mention them here because I don't think that they offer anything too unique in their kits. And really at this point of the game, their roles and slots in the party can easily be replaced by any other character or many other characters that have recently been released. So if you are limited in tickets, gems, power stones, or ingots, I really feel that you can safely skip Sarah and Waka here. That's it. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, do hit the like and subscribe button, or do leave some comments on your pool plans. Till then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.